Hello, and welcome to another week of TRUUU Podcast. I'm your host, Drea.
And I'm Alex.
And this week we are talking about movies/TV shows that had horrific endings. Basically, endings that made us really bitter about the whole situation. And fun thing, today we have a guest. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Howdy, I'm Ryan.
Howdy. To give context, he's not a cowboy. Opposite. But yeah, Ryan's my roommate. He's been begging me to be on a podcast.
I have.
So here we are. Actually, he's a theater major, or he's a theater teacher now.
Yeah.
So this is a pretty good podcast for him to be on. Anyways. But all right, so Alex, you wanna segue into the beginning topic, or?
Sure. So, the reason, we came up with this, obviously, limited things to do during quarantine and whatever, so that means a lot of watching TV, a lot of binging movies, all that stuff. So I was thinking the other day, as I was watching a movie I'd seen many times, man, this movie's so great, but the ending sucks so much and makes me want to stop watching the movie. And that movie that I was watching was A League of Their Own.
Oh, so you just watched this movie?
This happened a couple months ago, actually. It was at the beginning of quarantine, but this has been a recurring thought for me. Man, this movie.
Yeah, okay, go on. I've never heard of it. So when we had our outline and we were creating it, I saw Alex put A League of Their Own on here, and I was just like, is that the sequel to The Sandlot?
Absolutely
she was
not.
No.
The Sandlot 2 is the sequel to The Sandlot, you guys.
Okay, alright.
So, if it's not already clear, massive spoilers for everything we're talking about ahead. So if you don't want to be spoiled, then I guess run away. But also, all these movies and TV shows have been out for 500 years. So,
yeah, so get over
You've
yourself.
had your time. Anyway, so A League of Their Own. Okay, it's basically about women's baseball in wartime era sort of deal. Where all the men are off at war, so no one's around to play baseball anymore, none of the professional players, because they're all, in the army and enlisted and whatever. So the idea was, okay, women, the way that you're going to help out here is you're going to play professional baseball now. Professional women's baseball.
Okay.
So it follows two sisters who are on a team together. The older sister, who is really great, really pretty, really good at baseball. And then the younger kind of mousy sister who has inferiority.
Mousy? Did you say mousy?
I did.
I've never heard that as a descriptor.
Really?
Yeah, is that a thing?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Anyway.
Alright, ignore me.
So, she has a major inferiority complex when it comes to her sister because her sister is basically talented, pretty, everything.
Okay.
And the little sister really wants to play professional baseball and wants to try out.
Mm-hmm.
And will only be able to do it if the older sister goes with her.
Okay. Why?
So,
Why?
Okay. Way back yonder
Okay.
rules about, decorum
Sure.
and whatever. Don't ask these questions. It's
Okay,
not the point.
sorry.
So, anyways, they end up making the team. They make tryouts, mostly just because of the older sister, because, they're kind of a package duo. And the older sister really doesn't want to do any of this at all. She just wants to be at home, her husband's off at war, she just wants to manage the family dairy sort of deal. And they do really well, get into the World Series, and then, they're kind of bickering, back and forth the entire time. It ends up being, through some series of unfortunate events, that the younger sister gets traded to the opposite team who they're playing in the World Series. So sister against sister.
Okay.
And in the last game, the older sister throws it to let the younger sister win because the younger sister was having the worst temper tantrum of life.
How awkward.
Because she was just so so deep in the inferiority complex that the older sister just lets her win.
Mm-hmm.
And the younger sister at the end, the whole movie's ending and whatever, and Tom Hanks he overcomes his own problems. He had an alcohol problem and he overcomes it by then and whatever. He's has renewed faith in humanity and whatever because he's the baseball coach of their team.
Okay, I was gonna ask. I'm wait, who's Tom Hanks in this?
Yeah, he's the coach.
Got it.
If you ever heard the line "There's no crying in baseball,"
I haven't.
that's where this comes from.
Okay, haven't.
Not surprising, because you haven't watched a lot of things. But anyway, so it all ends and whatever, and then the older sister officially retires from baseball, and it ends at the Hall of Fame for, like, the women's baseball organization, like, years and years later. They're all old now and whatever. And basically, I never felt like the younger sister, like, expressed good enough gratitude, like, for what the older sister did. Mm-hmm. She was just, all, like, at the end of the, game, she's like, oh, thanks. I love you. And then, like, pieces out and, like, goes to hang out with her team and whatever. Like, she's going to move in with them and all this stuff.
Okay.
And I'm just kind of like, you basically just got your way because you're a spoiled brat.
Right.
So I can only watch the beginning of that movie because the beginning's great. But as soon as she has her temper tantrum...
So basically, just, like, this mousy character is just unlikable the entire way?
Yes.
And that's, like, the whole movie? You know what movie this reminds me a lot of, which I didn't even add on here, is freaking the one that, you know what I'm talking about.
What movie?
The anime that you were like, it's good, and I watched it, and I was like, what is this?
The one you watched? Oh, you
Mirai.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen it.
It's on Netflix.
Okay.
It's literally...
I love that movie.
Oh, my God.
I love it.
I should have like brought this up as a whole topic here, but I'll just say it really fast. The whole movie is about a little boy, like a toddler, throwing a tantrum for 2 hours. Like, that's literally the whole movie.
Shout out to Mirai.
Oh my God. Like, he's not even denying it. Like, that's really...
I love it.
That's really what it is.
Such a beautiful movie.
I wanted to shoot myself in the face. But anyway, sorry. Okay, so League of Their Own.
Yeah, so that's what got me started on this whole concept. It's just like, man, it really bothers me the way League of Their Own ends.
Yikes.
Like, I guess there's no way, like, for it to end well, considering that the two sisters are going up against each other, and the best ending of those, scenarios is for the older sister to let her younger sister win. Because the older sister is such a good person.
Yeah.
But still, it bothers me.
That's actually a thing that's happened in real life in tennis, like with the Williams sisters.
Oh, yeah?
Every single time that they play each other, like, it's, like, the most boring match ever because it's just, like, both of them being nice to each other. And everyone's like, boo.
I mean, I guess if you want to make it work that way.
I mean, it's super boring because they're not even trying. You know what I mean?
I guess. I don't know. I had siblings. They wouldn't do that for me.
Oh, well, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of get you, though, Ryan, because, I mean, whenever I do anything competitive with my brothers, I just have to accept defeat, and that's it.
Oh, well.
Constant third place. I mean, mostly it's video games.
Like, I like A League of Their Own. I don't ever remember the ending, and maybe that's why.
You just blocked it out.
Yeah, maybe that's why. It's just not.
That's
it's not
funny.
interesting like the rest of the movie.
That's so funny. Okay, well, enough on League of Their Own.
Right.
The next movie that we have here doesn't need any sort of introduction, and I think it's going to be a really quick just, like, go through, because if you don't know what happens in this movie, like, okay, really, like, get off this podcast and go watch it.
Well, and also know your basic history a little bit. Like,
Yeah,
you
literally.
can imagine what it's about by the title.
Yeah, so we're talking about Titanic.
For sure.
Classic.
Because we both have beef with this.
Here's my beef with it is that I just think it's so unnecessary. Like, I get it. Like, they have to create this romance, and they have to make it emotional at the end with Jack dying. But it's like, okay, like, really? He tried to get on the door with Rose, like, one time, and it almost flipped over, and, like, then he was just like, okay, I guess I'm gonna die. And then she was like, oh, guess you're gonna die, you know? Just, like, that is the most BS thing I have ever seen in my life. The end.
I mean, it's really funny when I saw that you had put what you said about it on there, because I have a really good friend who, like, loves the Titanic. Like, she listens to movie scores all the time, loves the movie score, like, is in love with the Titanic, has her own replica of the Heart of the Ocean necklace.
Okay.
Loves
Excessive.
I was gonna say that.
Anyway, and 100% she would, like, fist fight you over there was enough room on the door.
No.
What do you mean?
Because apparently, like, scientifically with, like, the buoyancy and whatever, she, like, will go down saying that it wasn't possible. Like, it had to end that way.
Why?
There was a Mythbusters episode about this.
Really? And
yeah,
what did they prove?
That it wouldn't have worked.
Okay, well, it's still stupid. He could have found another piece of plywood somewhere and jumped on that. Like, why did he automatically just decide, like, okay, I'm defeated?
Because he's floating in cold water.
Boo.
I think probably the point of it was, like, Rose had to learn, like, you know, what her real priorities were, because, you know, she started out this journey being a spoiled, you know, whatever. And then she ended up being like, I'm going to make my own way.
Yeah.
Sort of deal.
Yeah,
I mean, my whole thing that I hate watching then this movie is it's too real in the sense of, like, this was an actual tragedy.
And they're, like, making it a romance.
Well, it's not that. Well, the romance part's fine with me. It's more so I don't need to watch all these thousands of people die because I'm very aware that it happened. Like, that's so heartbreaking to me that, like, all these people died when they shouldn't have, really, you know, because of all the mistakes that were made around it. So, like, the really kind of funny thing about this is like, I have it on VHS.
Okay.
And since it's such a long movie, it's split into 2 VHS tapes.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And the perfect thing about this, you guys, is that basically this ship doesn't start sinking until the second tape. So all I need to do is
watch the first tape.
I just watched the first tape.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it just, like, it goes to the part where Rose and Jack hook up, and basically that's the end of the first tape. And then in the second tape, they go above deck, and all of a sudden it gets hit by the iceberg.
Amazing.
And then the whole sinking starts. I'm
Yeah.
just like, well, just watch the first tape and that's it.
Just stay on a high.
Yeah, because, like, especially, like, thinking about, like, because I took a tour in New York a couple years ago. More than a couple years ago at this point. I was still in college then. But, and the part in the sinking montage where the couple is on the bed, that's based off a real couple.
Ugh, I hate that. That's so sad.
Like, the owner of Macy's, like, from back in the day,
Yeah.
like, that's him and his wife.
Ew,
That's who that's supposed to be.
Oh my god, I
apparently.
don't want to think about that.
Exactly. That's exactly my point. It's like, you
Oh my
watch
God.
them on the bed and the water starts spilling in the room. I'm just like, well, that sucks.
That's horrific. Ryan, what's your take?
I've only seen Titanic, like, the whole way through, like, once.
Really?
I don't care. I don't care about it. I don't think it's, like, a good movie in general, so that's just me.
Alex's friend is, like, shooting herself right now.
Yeah.
Sorry, Alex's friend.
I mean, I agree, though, in a certain sense. Once is probably enough. You don't
Yeah,
need to
true.
watch
I-
the
I-
whole thing.
I think everyone gives a great performance in it. I just think it's not
Not.
my thing.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
All right, let's move past it. Ryan, what's your movie?
Oh, so my first movie is I Lost My Body, which is on Netflix if you haven't seen it. But guess what? You're gonna get spoiled anyways. It's
Oh,
an
yeah.
animated French film.
Oh God, it's already bad.
No, it's so this guy loses his hand, and his hand, like, starts crawling around trying to get back to him, and it's a pretty wild movie already, and so, like, you see, like, flashbacks of, like, oh, he was a pizza delivery boy, he wasn't good at his job, he meets this girl, and then he starts stalking her, but it's supposed to be endearing, and he gets, like, an apprenticeship with her uncle, and they start getting close, and then one night after partying, he goes to cut some wood, cuts off his hand, and, like, you're like, okay, the hand's gonna make it back, he's gonna feel whole again on his own, and, like, the hand goes back to be a part of him, and you're like, alright, we've already suspended this much disbelief at this point. And the hand goes, and it's like, I can't be part of you no more. And then the movie just ends with him looking over the city skyline, and it's like, that's it.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's literally how the movie, it, like, builds to nothing.
100%, like, that is in theme with French movies, by the way.
Oh,
Like,
100.
Yeah, no, most definitely, but I was like, oh, I've heard a lot of great things about this. And, like, it's just such a disappointing ending, where nothing happens.
right.
I feel like I feel emptier than I went into it. And I was already empty when I went into it.
Here's the thing, though. Okay, so I have big beef with French movies, and I hate to, like, categorize all of them into one lump thing, but I took a class. I think you took this class.
Yes, we both did.
Okay,
The
yeah.
French New Wave.
Yes!
nonsense.
Oh, God. It was French New Wave.
It was called Power to the People.
Yeah, that's what the class, which is so, like, misleading.
It was
because I was
a mix
so
of the
ready.
civil rights movement and French New Wave film.
It was,
for
yeah,
some reason.
I don't know. I thought it was gonna be something else, but we were like watching French New Wave films and then like creating our own. And like one of the ones that we had to watch, I don't know if you remember this, Alex. It was like called like I don't even remember, like 48 Hours or something, or 78
Yeah.
Hours, something like that. And it was literally just this kid like going about his day, and then it ends with him just like being at the beach, and like that was the whole movie. And I was like, I wasted 3 hours of my life right now.
Right.
See, I feel like I could live with that if the whole movie's that consistent when it comes to being, like, that boring.
Yeah.
Because I feel like once you have a hand that's crawling on its own, fighting
Then
off
you're
rats,
like, you're waiting.
you're like,
for,
okay,
like,
so
a
this is
climax.
this is gonna build up to something.
That's
We've already
true.
gone this far, and then it's like, nah, dude, I just got no hand no more. Like, that's basically how the movie ends. He's like, meh. And,
Yeah,
like,
that
nothing gets
was.
resolved with the girl, or maybe I, like, wasn't paying. Maybe I missed something. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure I saw the whole movie.
That blows.
And yeah, like nothing gets resolved, and he's like, meh.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I'll never watch that movie.
Just don't watch French movies.
Just don't watch French
Amen.
movies.
That's the whole moral of this podcast. Okay, Time Traveler's Wife. Go, Alex.
All right, have you seen this, Drea?
Never.
Okay.
Have you seen this, Ryan?
I've been reading the book for like the past year, so go ahead, spoil it for me.
Oh,
You
no.
haven't finished the book in a year?
No, I've been busy with other things.
Well, I mean, you know, it might be the same of like, you know, doesn't mean that the book's like the movie and
That's
vice
true.
versa. Like,
That's true.
these things sort of happen.
Yeah.
Well, Time Traveler's Wife. So the whole idea is like the main character is this guy, and as you might be able to tell from the title, he is a time traveler.
Right.
So like, randomly as he goes about his life, he'll just spontaneously travel in time and then go back to where he was.
Okay.
So he just kind of like has these random interludes where like he goes to different parts of time.
Okay.
And it seems to be that his time traveling is more or less centered around meeting his future wife. Like he becomes an adult and he starts like meeting his wife, and he meets her first like as a young girl,
Okay.
and like it keeps like going until they eventually fall in love, like in the present. Like they meet each other in the present,
Okay.
and they fall in love, and he keeps time traveling, and like it's kind of a series of unfortunate events where like the time traveling kind of messes with their relationship a little bit. She ends up like they end up getting married, and she ends up getting pregnant, and because the child is his kid, like the kid like tries traveling, so she ends up like having miscarriages
Ugh.
because of that. And then the guy's just like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I'm not going to have any children with you because this keeps happening.
Okay.
And then she ends up meeting a younger version of her husband, the main character, like when he's time traveled to the future.
Okay.
Because he goes either way, past and future.
Okay.
So he travels to the future one time, meets his wife who, you know, is feeling some kind of way about wanting to have a kid, but the older him won't do it. So she has an interlude with him, gets pregnant, and is like, surprise, I'm pregnant again.
That's so awkward. Okay.
But he ends up, like, it ends up being fine. They end up having this baby.
Uh-huh.
But then it starts becoming clear that he could only go so far in the future,
Okay.
because it ends up being that his time traveling, he ends up dying.
How sad.
Yeah. So, like, and he still travels to the future, like, past the point of his death,
Okay.
and, like, sees his wife every once in a while. You know, it's like, you know, a little stab in the heart, like, hey, I could
Remember
only
me?
see you for a couple minutes.
Yeah.
But, like, because, like, the last, like, scene is, like, he travels to the future, and the kid's a certain age. I don't know, like, 12 or something. And then the kid runs to go get her mom, like, at the house. And then the mom, like, runs out to go, you know, see her dead husband, who's been dead for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And, like, they see each other for, like, a minute and a half, and then he disappears.
Ugh. Okay.
So, like, it's this whole, you know, tragic love story thing that I'm just kind of like, I love a happy ending when it comes to this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I hate this bittersweet stuff.
I feel you.
So it really kills me.
Is
that
it
he
written
dies.
by what's his face? That guy who did the Notebook.
Nicholas Sparks?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I don't think so, no.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so that just kills me to watch because it's so sad.
I feel you.
Like, I've shed tears for this movie.
I feel you. Sorry, Ryan. Throw away the book now.
Cool, I don't have to read it now.
Okay. Up next, Indiana Jones.
Okay.
Or do you want to go, Ryan? You want to throw one in?
Wait, why is Indiana Jones on? Which one is? Oh,
Crystal Skull.
That's not a good movie.
See, here's the thing. Okay, so
I wanna hear this.
We'll just get into it. So, Indiana Jones, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, I think is what the last part of it's called. I try to block it out so much in my mind that I just forget.
Okay.
And actually, my coworker is the one who reminded me that this is on my list.
Okay.
Because I hadn't thought about it. And
Okay.
here's the thing. It's only on the list as, like, a quasi-good movie because I was so in love with the original trilogy of them, like, growing up. Like,
Okay.
growing up, it was Star Wars and Indiana Jones, and, like, that's, like, you know, big movies that were impactful for me, and those were ones that I watched with my dad a lot. So like they meant a lot to me. They had a lot of sentimental value.
Sure.
So I went into this movie wanting to love it. You know, like I'm giving it every good grace that I have because you gotta love Indy. He's great.
Okay. Never seen it.
Yeah. That was the first one I saw, and I just never got around to seeing the other ones.
What?
Yeah.
See, there's your problem right there. It's like you have to watch the other ones first.
Well, sorry about it.
Anyway, so like, there's like some kind of, like it goes somewhat like into occult things in like the second movie that happens, but like usually it's kind of historical sort of fiction.
Okay.
Like the first one, they end up finding the Ark of the Covenant. The second one, they like do some adventure in like India, I think, or somewhere around there, and like that's kind of like occulty, I guess.
Okay.
And then the third one, they end up finding the Holy Grail.
Okay. Like Monty Python?
I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like...
Thanks, Ryan.
Anyway, and in this one, like, it ends up being about aliens.
Dope.
And that's where, you know, it really loses me. Like, I wanted to like it, like, the whole thing, the artifact that they're fighting over this whole time, because, like, he's kind of like a quasi, like, grave robber almost.
Okay. Wait, India's?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he kind of robs, like, he's called a grave robber in the first one, but,
Okay.
like, he finds artifacts, recovers them, donates them to museums, that sort of thing. And so, like, he's older now, like, he's young in the beginning ones, but then it's been like 30 years or whatever, so like he's probably like in his 60s or whatever, still doing this whole thing. And he ends up fighting over like a crystal skull, like how the name suggests, and it's elongated, looking kind of like an alien. So that's already, you know, telling you that it's not going to end well, at least in my opinion.
Right.
And like they brought in elements I thought were really cool. Like they brought back his love interest from the first movie. It turns out that they had a love child together, and he had no idea.
Sick.
So Shia LaBeouf is the love child,
Yeah.
which is like big thumbs down.
You don't like Shia LaBeouf?
I do not.
I like him. He's
I don't
psycho.
know.
I love
I don't
him.
know if I like him.
Did you just say he's psycho?
Yeah.
That's why you love him?
Yeah.
That's why I don't like him, because
Well,
he's
I like
psycho.
him. He's so fun.
Anyway, so like he ends up going on an adventure with his son, but not knowing it's his son, and like, here's the son comes up like, hey, like, my mother is, you know, knows you, needs your help, is in South America, like, come help. And he like goes to help and whatever, and it ends up being his love interest from the first movie. And I was like into that. That's kind of cool, like bringing it back, and like they were great together. Like they were the best couple out of all the, you know, love interests he's had. And like it gets to the end of the movie, and it's just like okay at this point, but then it like falls so hard in the sense of like the bad guy's defeated. They're in like this temple thing, like on top of a pyramid, and they return the crystal skull to like a burial chamber sort of deal,
Yeah.
with a bunch of like crystallized skeletons of aliens. So they bring the skull back. It like flings through the air, like magnetism, like flings through the air, lands on the one that's missing a head. Then all of a sudden, the pyramid starts spinning, like kills the bad guy. They all run away, and like as the whole room spins, like the aliens like regain flesh, and they end up flying away in a UFO, essentially.
See, I'm already like so over it. Like,
Yes.
it's too much. It's too messy. I'm not interested.
Because like I was okay until it ended in, okay, we're aliens now, we're gonna go fly away, peace out.
Yeah, I'm not interested in this at all.
No, the part that lost me was the nuke in the fridge. Like at that
Right.
point, I checked out. Yeah, like he literally hides in a fridge to escape like a nuclear blast.
And he survives.
Yeah, he survives perfectly
Hiding
fine.
in a fridge.
Yeah.
A lead-lined fridge.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
It
That,
really doesn't
that's
matter.
supposed to be like why it matters.
Okay.
Because it's lead-lined.
Okay,
I'm not
let's try it
saying that I
anyway.
think it's good. I'm just saying that that's what it was supposed to like. Because it's lead-lined, it's supposed to be fine.
Boo.
Boo.
Thumbs down.
Yeah, he's
Boo.
probably irradiated. Anyway, what's your next one, Ryan?
So my next one is Superman, the original
Which
Superman.
one? The original one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like from way back in the day?
Yeah. I think, what was it, like 80 something? Whatever. The one with what's his name? I can't remember his name right
Clark Kent.
now. Yeah, no, almost came out. So, have you guys seen the original Superman?
No.
Do you have any idea what happens at the end?
No, but
he dies?
My general opinion about all Superman movies is that they suck.
Oh, this one's fantastic. It's great. It's great. It's so much fun. It's so heartwarming. And then at the end, it just loses me completely because, like, he's on his way, like, he's trying to stop a bunch of stuff. And then, like, he's going to save Lois Lane. He doesn't make it in time. He, like, screams in agony. And then he flies in reverse around the Earth and turns back time.
Yeah, that's a
Oh,
thing.
you know what? I think I do know that this
Yeah, I think everyone has heard of this,
Yeah.
but actually hasn't watched the movie. The rest of the movie is fantastic.
That is the stupidest
It's
thing
just
I've
that
ever
point.
heard.
It's just like, I don't think, like, I know it's a superhero movie. I can look
But
past the lines, like,
boo.
that's not how it works. Like, he literally rotates the Earth backwards, which I think would kill
Boo.
people. But yeah, it was just that moment. I'm just like, I usually just stop watching it before then, or I skip past that part and act like it doesn't happen.
Yeah, that sounds pretty stupid.
No,
Good call.
I think my next one's even dumber.
What's your next one?
Interstellar.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
I absolutely I wanted to love that movie so much. I was hyped. I love Nolan. And like, have you guys seen Interstellar? No.
No.
No, mostly because I don't love Nolan.
I love.
Who's Nolan?
Christopher Nolan. He's a
Oh, okay, got
Made,
it, got it.
made
got it.
Batman films and
Yeah,
Inception.
I like Christopher
yeah,
Nolan.
another one of his movies makes it on
Another
this
one
list.
of his movies does make my list. Okay, go on.
But yeah, so it's about this guy Matthew McConaughey, and Earth is like hit by this big dust storm that kills all the crops, so they need people to grow crops and like people who are scientists to help grow crops, and like the Earth is coming to an end. They got to find another inhabitable planet, and so they send Matthew McConaughey and a bunch of other people out into space, like the far depths of space, and it's such a cool concept. It is such a solid concept.
I
Like,
think I've seen a scene from Interstellar.
yeah, like they go on different planets, and like you slowly find out like the amount of time on that planet is different from what's going on on Earth. So
yeah,
like,
yeah.
like at one point they find out 5 years has passed, and they're like, oh god, we were only on there for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And so like he gets a message from his daughters. It's a very powerful, emotional scene that's been memed a million times where Matthew McConaughey's crying while watching a video. And it's such a like good like scene. It's like such a like desperate place to be like, okay, like we kind of failed.
Yeah.
Like what do we do? And it
Yeah.
would have been nice to see some like scientific logic, but instead it's the power of love that gets them back home.
Ew.
And yeah, it's that. You're just like, oh, you're like, no. Like I was so on board for this movie.
Ew.
And I was like, it's the power of love. It's getting us home. It's like,
Okay, what is
oh.
this, a Powerpuff Girl movie all of a sudden?
It's such a solid film. Like Casey Affleck's great in it. Matthew McConaughey, Anne Hathaway, Matt Damon's in it.
Love Anne Hathaway.
Yeah, like no one knew Matt Damon was in it, so that was a fun surprise.
Yeah,
like it was
Matt
all
Damon.
fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, it kind of there's a newer movie on here that I can't talk about, but yeah, it's such a disappointing ending. It feels like a cop out.
Oh, that sucks. Because I actually have heard really good things about Interstellar, but now I'm like, why am I going to watch it if I already know the ending is stupid?
I would just say watch it because it's like
And just stop it before the end?
I would just say watch it the whole way through because like the performances are great. Like if you're gonna watch anything, it's performances.
I've
Maybe.
seen bits and pieces, but like the bits and pieces I've seen, it looks like someone's having a trip.
Yeah,
I feel like I'd be into like watching
yeah.
that,
Like
though.
the visuals are amazing. Like in any Nolan film, they're fantastic.
Yeah, I might
there.
watch it. We'll see.
Right.
Okay, go La La Land.
So this is one that apparently you had something to say about this too, right, Ryan?
Yeah.
Okay, so my beef with La La Land. It's
La
great.
La Land. So that's so
Shut up.
funny. Sorry.
Anyway, the great thing about this movie, I love musicals, so like that really goes well for it. Like
Yeah.
I wanted to really like it, and I love Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling. They're
Love
great.
them. Yeah, they're the best.
And whenever they act together is great.
Yeah.
Like they make a great couple.
Yeah.
And so basically, like they meet each other, kind of like on the freeway.
What?
Like the opening scene is like the opening numbers on a freeway. It's called Another Day of Sun. It's a great song.
Okay.
And it's about LA traffic essentially.
Oh,
and like
funny.
making it in LA and like all this whatever. And they end up like, she's on her way to an audition. He's on his way to goof around because he's basically like, he's a jazz musician that's kind of wants to make his own club of jazz
Okay.
music in like the pure sense of jazz, because apparently there's like, you know, the sellout jazz and then there's the jazz that he's into. And he wants this very specific club that used to be a jazz club but then becomes like a samba tapas place, I think it's what it was, they referred to it as.
Yeah.
And so Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling end up like meeting each other, they fall in love, it's great, and then she decides, well, I'm from Colorado and I'm going to go home because this whole acting thing's not working out, and I'm fighting with Ryan Gosling because like he he ends up joining a jazz band with John Legend. Not John Legend's character, I should say.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, I was like, John Legend.
And he feels like such a sellout, and they end up getting into a fight over it because he's just trying to make money because, like, he overhears a conversation Emma Stone has with her mom, basically making him feel like a loser.
Okay.
But she's, like, defending him, but he's like, I need to provide now. So, like, he joins his band, kind of becomes a sellout, they have a fight over it, and she's like, well, this acting thing's not working out, I'm moving back home.
Yeah.
And he ends up getting a call. I don't know, like, how it ended up happening. I don't think they had a house phone, but he ends up getting a call for a callback for her. Like, she finally has a callback.
Okay.
And he ends up driving all the way out to where she is, like, to bring her back to go do the callback and whatever. And, like, they, you know, end up, like, talking at the Griffith Observatory about, you know, each other and, like, whatever. And, like, you're kind of just, like, it's that moment where if they were just to say how they feel, they can, like, be together. But, you know, neither is trying to hold the other back sort of deal. So they end up not talking about how they really feel for each other.
Take that.
So then, like, it flashes forward into the future. She has become a famous actress, everything that she's wanted to be. And he finally opens the club at the place that he wants.
Okay.
And she's married to someone else, has a kid. And then her and her spouse, they go out to dinner one night, and then they're just like, oh, there's a bunch of traffic here, let's stop off, like, the freeway. And then they pass by a jazz club, and they decide to stop because she's really into jazz now, like, after dating Ryan Gosling. And it turns out that the place that they stopped is his club. So, like, they walk, the last scene's the worst because, like, they walk into the club, right? And she, like, sees, like, the fruits of his labor, and she's, like, feeling all these feelings and whatever, and they sit down, and he, like, someone just finishes playing whatever set they were playing, and then he comes on, Ryan Gosling comes on the stage, and he looks, he happens to look into the audience, and, like, they make eye contact, and they do this whole montage of what it would have been like if they would have been together. So you see their entire life together. Like,
but they obviously aren't, so it's just
yeah, so, like, you know, if he would have gone with her to film this movie that she ended up getting famous on.
Yeah.
And, like, they would have been together, they would have had their own kid and whatever. She wouldn't have been as successful, it looks like, but they would have had a happy life. And then it goes back to the present, them looking at each other, and he starts playing the piano, and that's, you know, basically how it ends. Is they acknowledge, like, they're both, like, mutually ogling each other, like, acknowledging, like, this is what it would have been, and, like, she gets up with her husband and leaves, and, like, looks back, and they look at each other, and, you know, she smiles and leaves.
That's so sad.
So, like,
I mean, that sounds actually, like, I know that it's sad, but that actually sounds like a kind of good ending.
I hate it. I hate it so
like
much.
it. It's like, I don't know, I like it. I think it's like, it's that kind of bittersweet kind of, you know?
I think I love it so much because I can relate to it so much. And I think so many people can relate to it. Just being like, oh.
What could have been? You know, like, obviously everyone has the what could have been, but, like, they both ended up successful.
Yes, they both ended up with what they wanted. They just didn't end up together.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, but you could have had it all.
Yeah, well, obviously, but that's not how life works, BB.
Yeah.
BB.
Did you want to add anything else to La La Land?
No, I like it. I mean, I think there's a lot of other better movies. I like La La Land. I think my disappointment just grew with it over time. Like, I think it's a good film. I just think it's Hollywood, you know, giving itself a little tug. But I love the ending. I think the ending's like one of the best parts of the movie. Of just like it, like kind of just kicks you in the teeth.
Yeah.
You should watch Blue Valentine. That's another good Ryan Gosling movie. If you don't like endings like that, you probably won't like it, Alex.
Right.
I feel like I want to watch La La Land. I've always wanted to watch it. I just haven't gotten around to it.
This actually just reminds me, an honorable mention, like, real quick. Have you either of you heard or seen Me Before You?
I've heard of it, but no.
Is that the one with the dude in the wheelchair?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is another one that really fits in this category because Emilia Clarke, like, ends up being, like, a live-in nurse to, like, some quadriplegic guy, like, who used to be, like, really active and successful and whatever. They end up falling in love. And she finds out along the way that he has a plan to go to Switzerland to be euthanized.
Oh, God.
And so she's just like, okay, I'm going to make life really great for him, so he's not going to want to die anymore. So she makes life really great for him, and they fall in love, and they're, like, on vacation together, and you know, she thinks that things have changed, and he's just like, listen, like, I love you, but I'm still gonna go die. And he goes to go die, and she, like, joins him in Switzerland, like, after they fight to watch him die, essentially.
That's awful.
That's another one that goes on this list.
Oh, God.
I literally
that's awful.
cannot, like, I have to stop it midway through, because I'm like, once they, like, go to their vacation, that's where I'm done.
See, movies like that I just don't watch.
Because, like, I was beside myself crying in the movie theater when I watched it.
No. I won't watch that.
Anyway, moving on.
Okay. I'll throw one in. So, the movie Safety Not Guaranteed. I was watching, what was I watching? I think I was watching The Proposal, like, on my DVD of it. And, like, one of the movie, like, the trailers, like, before the movie started on the DVD is, like, Safety Not Guaranteed. And I was, like, watching it, and I'm like, what movie is this? Because it had freaking, like, Aubrey Plaza, what's his face? Jake Johnson.
Yeah.
And the guy who plays Phil from The League.
Oh, I don't
I
know.
forget his name. But, like, and I'm just like, what the heck movie is this? I love, oh, and also the kid who, he's, like, the taxi driver in all the Deadpool movies, like, the little Indian kid. You know?
Yeah.
He's in it also. And I'm just like, what movie is this? And then I looked it up on Rotten Tomatoes, and, like, the rating on Rotten Tomatoes is, like, super high. Like, I think, like, 90%. And I was like, dang, like, this is going to be a good movie. And so me and Aaron watched it, and basically, like, long story short, the whole movie is, like, Jake Johnson, the guy from Deadpool, I forget his name, and Aubrey Plaza, like, they work for a newspaper company, and they're trying to come up with, like, a new story, and, like, I guess they see this ad on Craigslist, essentially, of this guy who lives in, like, Seattle or something, who's saying, like, oh, does someone want to, like, time travel with me? And they're just like, oh my God, like, let's go do a piece on this crazy guy, because obviously it's going to be something funny. So they all fly out there, and Aubrey Plaza kind of, like, befriends him to, like, get his trust so that she can, like, get more information about the whole thing and, like, everything. And so the whole movie is, like, basically just her getting to know the guy who's played by Phil from The League. And Jake Johnson, like, I don't know, tracking down, like, his high school crush and, like, not even doing work. And at the end of the movie, it, like, has a moment where I'm like, oh, this is going to get really good. Because the whole time, like, Aubrey Plaza's starting to think, like, no, like, this guy just, like, he's had a hard life, you know? Like, his girlfriend, like, died in a freak, like, car accident and, like, all these things. And, like, it's just, he's just struggling. Like, that's the issue. He's not crazy. But then they find out that, like, that whole story he was saying about his girlfriend, how, like, she died because, like, a car drove through her, like, living room window or something. It was actually, like, he drove through the living room window to try to kill her because she wasn't his girlfriend. Like, she was just this girl that, like, he was, like, in love with or something like that. And he didn't end up even killing her. Like, she still exists. Like, she's, like, living, is married, and he's just, like, a psycho. And I'm just like, oh, dang, this is about to get good, right? But then, no, it doesn't. All that happens is that she goes and confronts him about it, and he's just like, yeah, you're right. I did that. And then he's just like, now look at my time travel machine. And it's like a time travel machine, and it actually works. And he's just like he like has his hand out to like Aubrey Plaza, and she like takes it, and then they just time travel. And that's how it ends.
Yeah, that seems kind of stupid.
I was like, what? Like, I was like, wait a second. Like, I was totally with this movie. I thought it could totally be like a really good indie movie, like, you know, like love story, like kind of like mental health awareness kind of deal. And then all of a sudden it turned into this weird sci-fi like BS. Like, ew, I hated it. I was so pissed. I was like, what a waste of my life. And I think that this movie got like a lot of awards at like Sundance. And I'm just like, why? Ryan, I think you've seen it, right?
Yeah, I've seen it.
What are your thoughts?
I love that movie.
God,
It
Ryan.
doesn't surprise me.
I love that movie. I think it's such a weird and quirky movie.
The ending, though?
Yeah, I was just like, we're already here.
See, I think that, you know, Ryan understands, like, the true lens in which to view, like, that sort of movie, and that's why he likes it, because I feel like that probably is the opinion of the people at Sundance, you know?
Oh my God. I couldn't, because here's the thing, like, it was such a good movie up until that point, and then I'm like, this all of a sudden turned into this cringy, like, dumb movie. Like, up until that point, it had so much potential to be good.
This is why I can't watch indie movies, because that sort of stuff happens and I get mad.
God, I hated it. So yeah, that's one of my movies. And then I'll just go into the next one since I haven't done a lot of talking here. Crimes of Grindelwald. And so the reason I chose this movie isn't so much because I think the ending is really bad, but I think it's like a bad current ending for the Harry Potter franchise. Because I feel like Harry Potter as a whole, obviously amazing, J.K. Rowling problematic, but the movie itself and the books, great. Fantastic Beasts, I actually personally really liked. I really liked all the new characters. I liked the whole introduction of like the like mythical like creatures, and I liked the villain in what's his name?
Isn't it Grindelwald?
No. I mean in Fantastic Beasts.
But isn't
the
he
kid.
the overarching villain anyway?
Well, yeah, but I mean like the kid.
Oh, no.
Ezra Miller?
Yeah, Ezra
yeah,
Miller's
Ezra Miller,
character.
I don't remember what it was.
Oh man.
It's like Constance, but not Constance. It's like,
Ezra Miller.
God.
It's Ezra Miller.
It's Ezra Miller.
Okay, Ezra Miller. Anyways, I really liked his character and like the whole idea of like what is it called? What he
You don't know any of these things names
because
are.
I try to block this out of my mind because I really don't like Crimes of Grindelwald.
Like all of these names are like at
the tip of my tongue, and
Yeah.
I just can't remember it.
yeah.
Anyways, okay, so Crimes of Grindelwald, I have a big issue with it because Fantastic Beasts, one of the characters that was my all-time favorite was Queenie, and I
Right.
feel like they sabotaged her character in Crimes of Grindelwald. Like everything that made her a good character in Fantastic Beasts, like they undid in Crimes of Grindelwald. Because like I really liked how, you know, she was like this blonde pretty girl, and like you would think that like she'd be like ditzy and dumb and like mess up and like, you know, be that person who's just like you're trying to protect them.
Right.
But like she was actually a strong character, and she like used her beauty and used her wit to like help the better cause, you know? And like she was like so loyal to her sister and like so willing to help and just so kind and not shallow and falling in love with what's his face. And like I just loved her character. Like I thought it was so great. And then Crimes of Grindelwald literally undid everything. Like they just made her this like love-struck dumb girl who's just like not thinking for herself and just like, you know, doing anything like at a, you know, like on a whim, and just super impulsive and like not thinking anything through and just so easily like manipulated and brainwashed. And that really just was like, I hated it. And then on top of that, like the whole thing with Nagini being like this like Asian girl.
Right.
Ugh, I hated that. Like I was just like, what's the purpose of this?
I kind of feel like that movie just ended up like giving you a lot more questions than answers.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why like I just feel like why ruin the series with this movie? And then Johnny Depp's character was also just kind of weird.
Yeah, it's Johnny Depp.
Yeah, true.
True. He plays weird characters.
So yeah, that's my beef with it.
I mean, I could only guess for the next movie about what makes it so bad because I know just a little bit about what it's about. But tell us, Drea, about My Sister's Keeper.
Okay, this is probably top of my list, honestly, at movies that I think have the all-time worst endings. So My Sister's Keeper, it's a movie based off of a book. I read the book when I was younger, and I remember when I finished the book, I was like, it's like one of the only books I've ever read that had me in tears. And I was like, this is so good, it's so like emotional. I just thought it was so well written. And basically what the whole story is basically like this girl, she gets diagnosed as a child with leukemia, and her parents are like trying to like help her, obviously save her, so they decide they're going to make a petri dish daughter who has the same like genetic, you know, like blood type and like all that stuff. That way she can like help be a donor for her sister.
Right.
Which is a problematic idea to begin
Yes.
with, but that's the whole like premise of, you know, the characters. And so,
Question.
yes.
What's a page? What was it? The what?
So it's like
A petri dish?
They
Yeah.
made a
Yeah.
baby in vitro, basically. So they created essentially a child, like they
in a-
created a child to make it a perfect match for it to be a donor. So it's a donor baby.
Yeah.
Like, that's like a
So-
thing.
Oh, it's like a cow for slaughter. Like it's just
Essentially,
gonna,
yes.
Kind, I mean, they're not trying to kill her. Like it's their daughter still, but they're like, okay, you're gonna be the donor.
See, I guess that's where it gets problematic because I would still say essentially yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
feel
okay,
like,
yes.
I feel like this movie's problematic.
Yes, let me get into the storyline some more. So, that is the quick backstory. Like, I think it's a preface, honestly, that like tells you all that. And then the book like starts off with the younger daughter, the petri dish baby, suing the parents. Like, she's not old enough. Like, she's still like I think like probably 10 at this point. And she finds a lawyer to like work pro bono because she's just like, listen to my story. My parents have created me to basically be a donor, you know, and like anyone, what is happening?
No, I'm just laughing. This sounds ridiculous. It sounds like a comedy.
Okay.
See, like 100%, I've abstained in watching the movie and reading the book just because I know I'd be only upset by this.
Okay, let me finish. So, anyway, so she gets this lawyer, she tells him his story, and obviously he's just like, dang, I can, like, get famous for this story because it's so ridiculous, you know?
Right.
He's like, so I will do this pro bono for you. He subpoenas the parents, and the parents are like, are you kidding me? Like, you're basically killing your sister if you do this. Like, if you, like, win the rights to your body, you're killing your sister. And so the whole story is basically the younger sister being this villain who's trying to kill her older sister, essentially, because she wants the rights to her own body, right?
Is this in the book or in the movie?
In the book. And
really?
So, yeah.
She's the villain?
Yeah, she's being, like, created to be the villain, like, by her parents, you know?
What person is the book told? I'm curious.
The little girl.
Okay,
The
so...
first person from the girl.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So basically, like, her parents are, like, not disowning her, but, like, the relationship is being severed because of all this. And, like, her sister, like, you know. And then, like, the book goes a lot into, like, the experiences that they had. And basically, like, on her 3rd birthday, like, she had to do a bone marrow, like, transplant, you know, which is, like, one of the most painful things. Yeah. And so it just, like, goes into a lot of that. And the way the book ends is that you find out at the very end, like, when finally they're going to make a decision at the trial, like, whether she's going to win the rights to her own body, you find out that the whole time, the reason she was doing this is because her sister begged her to do this. Because it's just like, I am not living a good quality of life. This is so painful for me to, like, see you do this, to go through it. I just don't want to live anymore, and I know mom and dad won't let me do that, so you need to do this for me. And, like, the sister, like, was crying, sobbing because she loves her sister, and ultimately, like, did it because she loved her sister and would do anything for her sister.
Oh,
and
so she
that
was
like,
her sister's
yes.
keeper.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So the whole thing, like, her being the villain, her trying to win the rights to her own body, was not because she cared about herself, it's because she cared about her sister and was, like, like, putting forth her wishes. Excuse me. And so, like, you find that out, and it's just like, ooh, plot twist, whatever. She wins the trial. The parents finally understand everything, and, like, everyone's just like, okay, like, this is how it's gonna be, like, you know, we're just gonna move on, and whatever happens to, like, the sister with leukemia is gonna happen to the sister with leukemia. On the drive home, because the lawyer takes the younger girl home that night, they get into a major car accident.
Shut up.
And the younger sister dies. And so, because she's, like, a donor and everything, they, like, harvest all her organs.
Get it together, Ryan.
And literally, like, transplant, like, all her organs, everything, into the sick sister. And
all of the organs?
Not all of them, but, like, the ones she needed, whatever. And so, like, she ends up, like, taking them really well, and her leukemia clears up. And she ends up, like, living her whole life, like, fine. And at the end of it, she's just like, I guess, like, you know, one person in the family needed to die, and it was supposed to be me, but this was, like, my sister's last, like, thing that she did for me.
That's when I threw the book across the room, by the way.
Wait, that's just the ending to the book?
That's the ending to the book.
What's the ending to the movie?
So that's the ending to the book, right? And it was emotional, and it was, like, plot twists, and I was like, man, this is so sad, like, whatever. The movie, basically, like, it was, like, the sister won the rights to her own body. Everyone's like, okay, this is our life now. And then the sick sister just dies. And that's how it ends. Like, literally, that's how it ends.
I mean, Ryan's reaction says it's not like you want to say something, but there's nothing to say.
So I'm just like, okay, the story is ridiculous. I agree. It's ridiculous. But it's like, at least the book had, like, a good, like, you know, twist, and you're just like, oh man, and it's evoking emotions.
I love how you described the theme of the story. It's like, well, one of us had to die in this family, so
Well,
somebody...
You know, whatever. I think that's literally a line in the book. I'm pretty sure.
I might read this book now.
I'm pretty sure that I'd hate both of these things, so I'm just going to abstain.
Yeah, so that's my sister's keeper.
Alright, let's round it off with Nolan.
Yeah, let's round it off because this is going long. We're going to have to do the TV shows in another podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so Nolan, basically, it's just really quick. It's just Dark Knight Rises. And here's the thing. I really liked Batman Begins, Batman Begins and Dark Knight. And then with Rises, like, I was so excited with, like, Bane to be the character because, like, when you see him, it's like, oh, dang, he looks, like, super cool, like, super intense, whatever. And the second in the theater when, like, he talks for the first time I literally, like, choked on my food. Like, I was like, what voice is that? Like, it sounded like Sean Connery. Terrible, like, so not intimidating at all. Which I know some people could have beef with me saying that Sean Connery's voice is not intimidating, but, like, it isn't.
I don't think it's intimidating, but I like his voice.
Oh, I think it's awful. But anyways, so, like, that whole thing, like, I feel like it just, like, really discredited the villain for me. And then, like, the whole introduction of, like, Robin at the end of it with Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character.
So he was supposed to be Robin?
Yeah, because at the very end, you find out his last name is, like, Robin or something, or his middle name is Robin or something like that, and then he gets the Batcave. Just for the series to just never, you know, like, go anywhere after that. But on top of that, I'm pretty positive that Robin in the comics, like, his name is not Robin.
No, it's not.
Like, that's the character name.
Yeah.
But, like, whoever is Robin, his name is not Robin.
Yeah, none of them are named Robin.
Yeah,
There's
so
quite
it's
a
like...
few Robins, but
Yeah,
none of them are named Robin.
exactly. So I'm just like, so that's not even relevant. Like, the fact that his name is Robin shouldn't even be a thing, you know?
I think if it would have came before Dark Knight, like if it would have been the second movie in the
Yeah,
trilogy,
yeah.
I feel like it wouldn't have been as poorly received. I do agree that the ending is dumb.
Yeah.
I don't know how Bruce Wayne could walk around without anyone know. I mean, he's Bruce
Yeah.
Wayne.
Yeah.
But I kind of knew we were going in a weird place when Alfred gave away the whole ending. Like
Yeah.
in the first 20 minutes of the film.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't care for it. Like, I don't think it's a bad movie. I like it more than Batman Begins, oddly enough. I don't care for Batman Begins.
Yeah, I don't really either.
I like it. Okay.
Well, I think it's really hard to follow up Dark Knight, especially with everything that happened with Heath Ledger.
Yeah, right.
Like, that
right.
movie was, like, all anyone talked about for years.
They really should have just capped it off with that movie. They should have just ended it, not revisited
And I
it.
guess this is a controversial topic, but I actually liked the way that they did Bane. Not, because I'm not, like, really into the comics or whatever, but mostly just because of the memes.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
The Bane memes, like, gave me life. Like, you know, the whole thing he does, like, when he was born in darkness, there's a meme.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I love
meme.
that whole thing. But the meme where I lived for, like, 4 years of my life,
Yeah.
about him saying that, but traffic.
Yeah.
I was born in traffic, I didn't see an open road until I was nearly a man. I'm just like, dude, my life.
That's funny.
Yeah, I like Tom Hardy, who played Bane in that movie.
Oh, he's so ripped.
Yeah. And I thought it was funny.
Ugh,
I mean,
I
I
just
wasn't really
didn't
that
like
mad at it, but I'm not in love with that series either.
I
I-
really like the series.
I could watch like the first half of that movie, and
Yeah,
then like it turns
same.
into a totally different
Same,
movie. Like
same,
I've
same.
fallen asleep during that movie and woken up, and I'm like, this feels like a totally
Still
different
going
movie.
on?
No, it's still going.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's mine. Ryan, did you have any that you wanted to add at the end here?
Yeah, I'll throw one in real quick. Signs with Joaquin
Oh.
Phoenix and Mel Gibson.
Signs!
I think it's a fantastic movie. It's a controversial opinion. I think it's fantastic until the very end,
I thought
because
it was
I think like the psychology aspect of a family trying to come together through this horrible thing,
Yeah,
trying to work
that's
through a
true.
tragedy.
Uh-huh.
And Joaquin Phoenix is fantastic in the movie. He's
Yeah.
fantastic in anything. he
Yeah,
does.
right.
And then it's just like, here's this alien, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, it's like, it's so cool because like the scene where the alien's like walking through the party, or like all those scenes where you just see a quick glimpse of it, that
Yeah.
gave me nightmares as a kid. But then you get to the end of the movie, and you find out that its weakness is water.
Oh, yeah.
And so
That's
thank,
so dumb.
thank God that daughter had a weird quirk where she leaves water all over the place. And I like the line though, like I wanted it to work when he's like, swing away. And
Oh, yeah.
like, I was like, you're like, I want this to work, but I know how dumb this is too.
Yeah, totally.
I know how dumb this is. And it's like, why would you come to a planet that's like 80% water? Like, you have the ability to travel across space. Like, you couldn't have picked any other planet.
It's so stupid.
Like, it's like, the more I think about it, the more frustrated it makes me. Like, it makes me so mad. And I think I have the same problem with, like, War of the Worlds. It's the same problem where it's like, this is such a, like, fun movie.
War of the
I liked
Worlds
it.
sucked.
I enjoyed it. Like, I
Oh,
enjoyed
God.
the idea of, like, the last few days of, like,
Nah.
humanity, and then it's like germs.
Germs.
And that's it. Like, it's the same concept. It's like, how do you not know? Like, humans are filthy. Like, they're filthy people. They don't
Yeah.
wash their hands when they go to the restroom.
Cut to coronavirus.
Yeah, like, oh man, they would be so screwed right now. But yeah, those are just two
That's a perfect way to end this, by the way.
yeah.
Just like those,
Seriously.
like, yeah, I totally agree with both of those things. Well, I mean, one, I just really hate War of the Worlds. Mostly because Tom Cruise, like,
Oh, I can't
gives
stand
me
Tom
the
Cruise.
heebie-jeebies.
Yeah.
I cannot stand Tom
I think I'm
Cruise.
looking at it from like the moment I watched it in theaters and
Maybe.
how it made me feel. Like I was like,
Maybe.
oh, this is exciting.
We're like, Ryan, change your.
Ah!
Oh, man.
Sorry. Anyway, yeah, so I think
That's probably
I felt like going into this podcast, venting about all these awful movies was going to make me feel better in some way.
No.
But I feel like I just feel worse.
I want to watch My Sister's Keeper now. I'm really into this.
Really, like, the whole moral of this is watch Sister's Keeper.
Well, first, I think you should just do this whole thing right, and you should read
Read
My
the
Sister's
book.
Keeper.
I
and then watch it.
want there to be like one of those '90s trailers for it, where it's just like there's a voiceover. It's like
You know what?
we should look pastry
it up.
dish baby.
We should look it
Pastry
up.
dish?
Petri. Have you never heard?
No, I've never heard of this term.
Okay, you know in bio
Is
class,
this a real thing?
It really
Yes.
is. Listen.
A petri dish is a
to me,
real
listen
thing,
to me.
though.
You know those circle like containers that you would put your specimen in?
I didn't do that stuff. My school was
Have you ever
full.
seen like a movie where like in the lab they have like these circular containers where they'll put like a drop of blood into or something like that?
Oh yeah.
Those are
that?
called petri dishes.
Petri.
Yeah.
Petri.
Yeah.
Like the fact that she has to fight to have ownership of her body is just a weird.
This is a very problematic
I mean the
concept.
whole thing. Okay, here's the thing. The author of this book, I'm pretty sure like has a background in law. So like all of her books are like controversial in like these ideas.
Yeah, I mean,
Jodi Picoult or something like that. Picouli, something like that.
Petri.
It's
Jodi
Jodi something.
Petri.
Or what did you say? Pastry? Jodi Pastry?
Jodi Pastry.
All right, let's wrap it
up.
here. Okay, let's not say that our next podcast is going to be TV shows with bad endings, but a future podcast will be TV shows with bad endings.
Or it could be relationships with bad endings.
Oh god, we've already done that one. All right, Alex, you want to close us off here?
all right, so thank you guys so much for listening to our podcast today. We are TRUUU Podcast. Thank you for Ryan joining us today. It was a lot of fun. Hopefully you had some fun as well.
I did.
At the very least, now you know that you want to watch My Sister's Keeper.
Yeah, I'm coming out of this watching My Sister's Keeper.
All right, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.